Welcome. I am Ashley Marshall, and this will be your super full moon in Scorpio reading for all 12 signs. I'm just lighting some herbs to clear the space, cleanse myself, so I can bring a clear reading to you all. This will be an oracle reading, and as I mentioned, it's for all 12 signs. I do encourage you to check your rising sign. Sometimes that can resonate more. Or listen for any sign that shows up a lot in your birth chart. So as I said, this is going to be a reading for the super pink full moon in Scorpio, which happens this evening at 8:31. It goes exact at 8:31 p.m. Pacific time, 11:31 Eastern time. And yeah, Scorpio is all about rebirth and death and facing maybe the dark and uncomfortable, which others aren't always so inclined and excited to face. It's about uncovering and getting to the bottom of things and the truth. Saturn, there's also a challenging aspect to Saturn that's happening, so we may feel restricted or isolated, maybe even lonely. So yeah, just really offering yourself lots of self-care and comfort right now. This is going to affect, I really believe, because it's a super moon and it's so close to Earth, that it will and can affect all of us. You'll have to let me know. Water signs in particular, so Pisces, Cancers, any Scorpio moons out there, anyone with lots of Scorpio energy in their chart. You can look to 7 degrees of Scorpio in your chart. This is where this is going to occur. So the house that it occurs in, and that will highlight which part of your life it may affect. So for me, as an Aries rising, that would be the 7th house, and it really depends what kind of house system you use. If you use whole house systems or Placidus, it's totally up to you. Chani Nicholas is somebody who uses whole house systems. Jessica Lanado, out of here in the Bay Area in Oakland, uses Placidus. So both really great, both offer different things depending on which house system you look at. You can look at both on astro.com. You'll just choose Hellenistic for the chart type if you want a whole house system. But if you just use their regular system, they're going to give you a Placidus chart, which is going to mean that you may have multiple houses in your signs. Whole house systems, you're only going to have one house per one sign. So it just depends. Yeah, is there anything else I wanted to say? I don't think so. Let's get into it. I think we should start backwards, since last time we started halfway through. I'm going to be using the Starseed Oracle guidebook, and we will start with Pisces. So this is a pink supermoon, and supermoon means that it's as close to Earth as it can be, so really charging energies, may affect the oceans and the tides. I always notice living here by the ocean in San Francisco that it certainly does affect the tides. And it's a pink moon, not because it's going to be pink. It will appear, if you can see it in your sky tonight, it will appear golden. It's only called pink because of the flowers that are blooming here in North America in the springtime. All right, Pisces, what is your super full moon in Scorpio message? Water your garden, nourishment, body care, tenderness, rest. I love the image on this too. So Pisces, how does this resonate with you? Are you resonating with this? This is actually really what the Scorpio full moon is calling upon all of us, I think. Really more to nourish, I think, our mental health, because Scorpio can bring up negative self-talk and dark feelings and past traumas. It rules the 8th house, and that's what the 8th house brings up. Maybe something needs to die in order for something better to be rebirthed. So that's the general focus. But here for Pisces, I really see, turning to rest and nourishment. Full moons, especially for empaths, and I think for Pisces as a water sign, really, we all need that extra nourishment and rest during full moons. But I think especially for Pisces, as I said, because they're a water sign, they can feel really depleted by full moons. This is a super full moon, so even more intense, first one of the year. So how can you bring in nourishment, body care, rest, maybe some baths, maybe a massage, just going within. I know things are starting to open up right now, and it's springtime, so maybe the flowers are blooming and it's, turning nice where you are. But maybe for these next couple of days or the next 48 hours for the energy of the supermoon, Pisceans, you can prioritize rest and self-care. And in what way can you do that? And I really see, maybe a trip to some hot springs or a bath or a soak. Pisceans really love water. Water is their element, so maybe bringing in some sort of water element to your rest and self-care over these next couple of days with this powerful energy we have. So who is next? Aquarius. Fall into my arms, surrender, holding the opposite extremes of life. So Aquarius, really a big call to surrender. What do you need to surrender to with this energy? I'm feeling like Aquarians maybe need to figure out or take a break from trying to make something happen, to force something to happen. I think it's a clear message that both things can be true. So if you're struggling with a balance or a challenge and conflict between opposites right now, maybe with somebody else, maybe a person, know that it's possible to hold two different ideologies, to allow them to exist, to coexist. Let's look into the book for this one to see if there's anything else. Oh my gosh, I just opened right up to the page. That's cool. So you're being invited to welcome, both the highs and lows of the human experience, and let them initiate you into life, both the agony and the ecstasy, right? So if you're trying to push away feelings of anger or grief, grief is going to be a big one for this big super full moon. So this is an opportunity to sit with it and heal it, and maybe not do the typical thing that I think all of us do, that society encourages us to do. Push it away, push it down, ignore it. So hold both the good and bad energies. Maybe this is a message to know for the Aquarians out there that there is a space and place for it. No feelings are really bad. Of course, I totally honor and validate that some feelings feel just awful and shitty, but they all have a purpose, and maybe this super full moon in Scorpio is allowing you to, asking you, calling on you to hold space and make space for the dark and negative feelings that may come up. And maybe we can look and see, kind of fumbled it last time, I have to admit. I was talking about the second house when I was doing Taurus season readings, and really, I just fumbled it. So really, if you want to look to your chart and see where this is happening, you look in your chart and what part of your life it's going to highlight for you, then you're going to look to, 7 degrees of Scorpio in your chart and see which house it lies in. As I said, I'm an Aries rising. For me, it's the 7th. And again, it may be a little bit off if you're looking at Placidus, which is not whole signs, or if you're looking at whole signs, then it will definitely be for an Aries rising 7th house. So if you're Aquarius rising, I don't know, I have the wrong chart to look it up, but you can do it yourselves, and I find it to be really helpful. Okay, so Pisces, we're going backwards in the 12 signs, Aquarius, and now we're going to do Capricorn. So what energies, what's your theme for this super full moon, in Scorpio? Capricorns, I've never pulled this one. The blue flame, spontaneous awakening, activation, integration time. I'm gonna look this one up. I've never pulled it. Go ahead and take that image in. Love the vibrant blue. So spontaneous awakening, activation, integration time. So it really speaks to the reality of an awakening process, that it doesn't really look how it's presented on maybe social media or in the white wellness community, where it's been marketed and changed. And it's a reminder that true awakening and true healing is Scorpio energy, this pull. So this is for Capricorns, Capricorn risings, Capricorn moons. It's a reminder that true healing is dark and sometimes ugly and messy and snotty and crying and not Instagrammable. And there may be some spontaneous awakening for Capricorns. You may be having you may be up-leveling. You may be having an energetic upgrade. And some deep cellular healing. It's a reminder that, this process isn't really glamorous, even though it's been made to look that way. And it's also a call to really give yourself nourishment and time. We're all going to really need a lot of nourishment, water, sleep, rest, whatever you feel called to do. Deep breathing, maybe some cleansing, some water. And for Capricorns, this is to integrate the huge changes that you may be going through during this intense super moon. So lots of possible awakenings, and don't forget to make integration time for those awakenings. We all need time to integrate big things that happen. So Capricorns, I would love to hear how that resonates for you. Now, because my partner is a Capricorn rising, I can easily look up what house this will land for you. So sorry everybody else, Aries risings and Cap risings. You're gonna get more of a treat. But again, you can look it up really easily, astro.com, or you can use Channing Nicholas's chart. You can use anybody's website, really. I'm using Placidus, so not whole sign houses, and that's just the web style, the basic web style for astro.com. And Leo, Virgo, Scorpio. So it's going to be the 9th house for Capricorn's rising. So travel, education, mental exploration, knowledge, higher learning. Okay, so Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and speaking of the 9th house and higher learning, we are pulling for Sagittarius, which rules that house. So, maybe I can look it up now that I have it. And again, it might be 8th or 10th depending on your degrees as a Capricorn rising. So, okay. Sagittarius. Fire sign. What does the super pink full moon in Scorpio have in store for you? Activated Earth, power places, ley lines, trust where you're led. Very interesting, Sagittarius, that you got this, because this card is all about travel. Traveling to places, which rules your sign, and you're all about travel. So you may be called to travel during this time or in the near future. And not just regular travel, but traveling to places that bring out your creativity and your innovation. And where could these places be? Maybe there are places you've been, maybe it's back home, back where there's some familiar energy or family, or maybe it's new places where you can learn new rituals, eat new interesting food, and power places, sometimes that speaks to, chakra points in the world, places of really great energy like Sedona, Arizona, or Joshua Tree in California, or Mount Shasta in Northern California. And that's all West Coast, there's places everywhere, but yeah, and also not just travel-wise trust where you're being led, but also metaphorically, emotionally. That's where I feel. So Sagittarius is, maybe you're taking a trip, maybe you need to travel somewhere. I know that there's still restrictions, so safe, light, maybe small local travel, to maybe unblock some creativity I'm feeling, to practice ritual, to activate your spirituality. Yeah, and kind of let go and trust where you are being led in the direction in which you're being led. And you may not know until the full moon is exact, or maybe in the couple days, or maybe even weeks following. So whatever new comes up, it may seem scary or different from what you're used to, but this is a message, Sagittarians, to trust it, to go with it, as long as it resonates and feels good, you know. Don't ever go with anything that doesn't, you know, that you sit with for a while and doesn't feel good. Okay, Scorpios, this is your moment. This is your moon. What does it have in store for you? Scorpio, big picture thinking, Pleiades energy, visionary, inspired ideas. And you can just drink those images in. Beautiful card. Pleiadian energy is really big visionary energy. So how can you call that in, Scorpios? What are your inspired ideas? What ideas do you want to bring into the picture? Think big, think huge, think bucket list life, big life goals, and then break those down into tiny steps that can lead you there. I'm gonna peek, getting cold here. I'm gonna peek into the book for this one. So Pleiadians are our cosmic cousins. They're here to remind us that it's never too late to learn new things or to change the future. It's a reminder that you're being called on as a visionary on this planet. It's likely that you're a huge, big, you know, dream maker. And it's a reminder that the world needs you. The world needs your art, your creations, your energy. So this could really be, this supermoon can really be impactful to your art and your creations and your energy. Yeah, I love that. I would love to see what house this happens in for you. Anyway, so yeah, really interested to hear, Scorpios, how this lands for you. Moon, suns, rising, lots of Scorpio energy in your chart. Yeah, this could be a big one for your creative efforts, your creative energy. And it could affect the big ideas and big plans that you have for the future. I'm feeling in a positive way. I feel like a lot of people are maybe scared of this full moon. It's talking about Scorpio and the whole idea of death and rebirth, but it's just a natural flow of life, in fact of life, that things have to die for new things to be birthed. And yeah, the more that we can just allow that to happen, I think the easier it is for us in the end. But it's not easy, and, you know, I think we're being called on, you know, what can we do to not soften the blow, but cushion our travels cushion ourselves, prepare ourselves, nourish ourselves under this super full moon. Okay, so we had Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, Sagittarius, Scorpio, and now we have Libra. Baby steps, action, follow your intuition before it makes sense. I love this one. So Libras, how can you take baby steps to make big things happen, big dreams come true? And it's a great reminder that things don't have to make sense. Your desires, this is a great reminder for everybody, but maybe Libra needs it the most. Your desires don't have to make sense. You can just go about fulfilling them And then maybe that, you know, the message, the answer to that will become clearer. And so lots of getting quiet, going within, total Scorpio energy. Libras, you're being called to do that. And how can you do that? I really like this image because I feel like it is, there's 3 people in line to maybe walk into this intuitive, guided energy. So take the baby steps now. I'm going to look this one up too. Yes, you don't have to have it all figured out. So if you have been planning a project, something, you're starting, you want to start a new career, you want to have an offering, whatever it may be, you want to have a baby, and you're feeling like you're not ready, you'll never really be ready. So this, I really feel, is a huge call and pull and guidance. It's a huge yes, is what I see. And if it feels too big right now, what are some small baby steps? I love lists. I don't know about anybody else. I was raised by a Virgo, so I love lists, and it could be so helpful to cross things off and to feel accomplished. And we can do this by breaking things down into smaller steps. So if you want to have something like a baby, if that's your thing that you want, that you're trying to do and to call in, I forgot I have my warm tea. And you'll know what you want when you can quiet yourself and follow your intuition. And again, don't, try not to deny yourself it. Oftentimes, and we're taught in society to ignore our whispers. And when we ignore them, they turn into disease, they become louder, they mess things up. And now Uranus is also in an interesting aspect to this moon. So it could bring in a lot of sudden change. So we all need to be prepared for that. But yeah, take action before it makes sense, and be prepared for the sudden change that Uranus could bring. All of us should. I think I just remembered that aspect was happening as well. And yeah, break your bigger dreams down into baby steps, Libra. Okay, Virgo. Virgos, what is in store for you during the super full moon in Scorpio? It's nice to start at the end, right? Can't always start with Aries. I mean, I'd be fine with it. You got the love, Hadean energy, codependency, and boundaries. So maybe, and this is Scorpion too, I feel maybe Virgos need to reevaluate their boundaries. Now, Holly Whitaker made a really interesting post, I think it was today, on codependency and how she feels about it, and how it could be really it gets bashed a lot. And I remember when I was working with my trauma coach, my health and trauma coach, to heal my trauma, and I talked a lot about feeling, how terrible it was. I had all these codependent relationships. We discussed a lot how codependency really gets bashed, because codependency is really just born from the need to connect and be together. And we're really expected to deny ourselves that, and we really live in an independent world, and we work from a really independent, isolated capitalist work model, which just so often leads to burnout and despair. So I feel like Virgos, this super full moon for you may bring up issues of needing connection. And maybe reevaluating boundaries, but where can you soften your boundaries? Sometimes Virgos can put up emotional barriers. They've been hurt in the past. But sometimes your boundaries are hurting you. Sometimes they're too strong. And maybe this doesn't apply to you. Maybe you need them to be stronger. Yeah. So Virgos, reevaluating your boundaries, looking at the codependency in your relationships, but also being kind with yourself and gentle, and realizing like a little bit of what's called codependency is needed and natural. Codependent, the word codependent is kind of violent, like the word alcoholic, right? Is kind of created in order to describe a group of people who needed to fix themselves and only them, when really, you know, we all have the opportunity and need to heal, right? Not just these icky, terrible, codependent people. But where are certain parts of you being taken advantage of, maybe? Where are you taking advantage of other people? It's a reminder that codependency isn't love. Giving yourself up, overriding your senses and your boundaries and your limits is not love. That's what I really feel in here coming from Virgos. What kind of boundaries do you need to put in place? What kind of boundaries do you need to break down, to take away, that are maybe keeping people out? Where can you soften them to create beautiful connections with other people? Okay, Virgo? Leo, this is for you. It got bright all of a sudden. Well, I did turn the lamp on. All right. So very love focused for you, Virgo. And now Leo, double mission, light worker, star seed. Serve the world by being you. I really feel this one, especially for you Leo moons, because I feel like those who incarnated with the Leo moon were possibly the shadow side of the Leo moon, is that you may have been made to feel like your energy is too much. You're too much. Because people with lots of Leo energy can oftentimes have quite a presence and need lots of nourishment, need to have their needs fulfilled, need proper attachment with their caregivers. They need to be recognized. They need to be noticed. They're kind of like, as children, you know, the look at me's. And unfortunately, sometimes we don't get that. That's not fulfilled. So this full moon can bring up feelings of shame around you needing attention and needing to be center stage in whatever way that shows up in your world. And I'm here to tell you, in this message coming through from this super full moon in Scorpio, Leos, is that you're not too much. You don't need too much. It's nice to be nice about how you ask for it, and it's nice to communicate it because people can't read your minds, right? But you are deserving of it, and don't let anyone make you feel that you're not. And if you're in imbalanced relationships where you feel like other people are making you feel like you're too much, maybe checking in with those relationships, maybe having some communication. Because this is a reminder that you serve the world by being your absolute self. And that's maybe also the part of yourself that you see as bad or needy, which it's not, but I feel like the block in the energy right now that I'm getting, that's being downloaded, is that you feel like you're too much. So the message is that you're not, and not just that you're not, that you are needed as fully 100% you, your quote unquote bad parts too. But it's not bad to need, right? My mentor and former coach came up with the 10 developmental needs that need to be fulfilled, and she did really, she's created really awesome education around it, and talked about how I talk about it with my clients all the time in one-on-one sessions, because my mentor also discussed how those needs, how it shows up in your life when those needs go unfulfilled, and how you can fulfill them. So the need, for example, to be seen and heard can be fulfilled by journaling. Because we are being seen and heard by, you know, the universe, by our journal, by putting that stuff out on the pages. A lot of healing your nervous system and healing trauma is completing responses, right? Finishing out responses. And not just stuffing stuff back down and not having anywhere for it to complete, to finish out, to go. Oftentimes we don't feel heard by our parents and caregivers, the people that we very much inherently need to be heard by, to go out into the world and to be healthy human beings. And it's unfortunate, but we can heal that need by doing things like journaling. And of course, that's just a start. You know, I always recommend working with a coach or practitioner, but Leos, it's okay that you're so extra. It's okay. It's why you're here. It's what we need from you. Be you. Bring it here. All your energy, all the fire. You're a fire sign after all, right? Okay, Cancer, another water sign, ruler of the moon. Kind of all Cancers are affected by full moons. But what is the message of this full moon for you? I feel this. Star ancestors, hidden secrets, lost wisdom, look deeper. Cancers rule the 4th house. Family, ancestors, right? I'm feeling this one really personally as a Cancer sun and as someone with lots of Cancer energy. Mars also just moved into Cancer, which is at its fall. It's not necessarily the best placement, right? Because it's such opposing energies. Mars is war, Cancer is mothering. So Cancers might feel this supermoon even extra because of that placement right now. Hidden secrets is very Scorpion, right? So maybe there's some hidden family secrets that may come to light for us Cancers. And also, this really calls to me about getting in touch with the lost wisdom of your ancestors. And so much does get lost, right? We don't get to meet them. Things don't get passed down, especially when we, all of our families came to those of us who live in the United States, but even if we're not, many of our families immigrated, and in that process you lose so much, especially if you're trying to blend into the new place that you want to be. There's so many lost languages, lost ritual, lost practices. This reminds me that Beltane is coming up, a Celtic holiday on the 2nd. If you're on my newsletter list, you're going to hear about it and maybe get a little ritual to do at home for yourself to celebrate if your ancestors were Celtic or from Ireland. Yeah, I really love this. Maybe this full moon can be about ancestral rituals for you, ancestral healing, inherited trauma resolution. What is inherited? Look deeper into that stuff. Like I said, there are lost messages, lost medicine. Our ancestors and our lineages have pain, and they have sorrows that they pass down, and themes, and you can work with a coach to see, you know, what those themes are, or you can work with yourself, go within to find out what those themes. They're often the things that are like the loudest and most pervasive. You know, it could be like loneliness, shame, financial troubles. You know, lots of times those things are passed down through the lineages. So this is a reminder that our ancestors, they know a lot. They've been through things like what we're experiencing right now with the pandemic. Yeah, you're being invited to step into your ancient knowingness. It's a reminder that you're here to remember who you are and to uncover your ancient secrets and your wisdoms, and you can say out loud, I am ready to remember ancient mysteries and secrets from deep within to open up that portal. So maybe Cancers, what kind of ritual can you do? Maybe you have a totem, maybe you have a altar that you go to for your rituals. I have one set up for both my parents, and I haven't been tending to it a lot lately, and I've been thinking about it, so this is really interesting. Yeah, how can you get in touch with your ancestors during this super full moon? Gemini. My moon's in Gemini, so maybe I will take a hint from this too, since it's moon themed. And now I feel really encouraged to do something with my parents' altars. Okay, Gemini, all path leads to home, inner authority, intuition, turn your gaze inward. Super Scorpio themed right now. This is really what this full moon is calling on for all of us, but especially Geminis, I feel, with this message coming through. Listen to that inner authority. What is your intuition guiding you toward? What is it saying? And I'm going to look to the book for anything extra. All paths lead to home. So Gemini, you're being called to develop or switch up your spiritual practice. Find ways daily to come home to yourself. Cut your cords with society. This is simple. Gathering them, putting them in a box, dusting it off, burying the box, dumping out the box. I made a post, I think it was just yesterday, with an energy tip about imagining yourself being rinsed with water, jumping in an ocean, coming out clean, the energies have washed off, standing under a waterfall, which I kind of feel like this feels like a waterfall that she's walking into. So how can you cleanse your energy this full moon? Take a shower with salt, bath with salt. Gabby Bernstein has a great cord cutting meditation. You can even just search a cord cutting meditation. But you want to keep in mind, like, what are you cutting your cords to? It could just be a general one, but maybe you have something specific, Gemini. How can you follow your intuition and your inner authority? Is there a decision to be made during this super full moon in Scorpio? How can you devote yourself to a new spiritual practice? How can you switch up the one you already have? Bring something fresh and new into it. Remember, Uranus, we have that challenging aspect to Uranus now too. So when I see change coming up, yeah, it may be like, I don't know, maybe you'll join a spiritual group. Maybe you'll move across the world. I mean, it could be a big change to your spiritual practice, is what I see. Taurus, Empathic starseed, energetic sovereignty, absorbing what's not yours. Interesting connection to the last one we were just talking about, cleansing yourself energy. So Taurus, how can you, in what way have you been carrying what is yours? And how can you detach yourself from it, get rid of it? Maybe spending less time with energy vampires, people who suck your energy, or if you have to, cord cutting, very similar, like I said, to the last one. You deserve, I'm feeling this come through, Taurians, you deserve energetic sovereignty. You deserve to just be carrying your own. What inherited energies are you carrying and traumas? Maybe if you're a Taurus, or if you're any of the 12 signs, you should come to my donation-based workshop. It could be like $1, 50 cents, whatever. And the workshop is called Trauma in the Birth Chart. So you will see your inherited traumas. We're going to cover inherited traumas too. So things passed down from generation to generation. Yeah, big call, Taurus. How are you carrying other people's energies? How can you rid yourself? And you can do this daily. It doesn't have to be like a one and done thing. Yeah, and I just love that looking in the mirror. Maybe you need that self-love reminder, Taurus. Really, it's like self-maintenance to, cleanse yourself energetically, even after you go to the store, after you spend time with family, after work. Maybe you have really, challenging work where you're absorbing lots of people's energies, and you have deep, dark work that you deal with, trauma and pain and things like that. Yeah, I'm really hearing very loudly you've been absorbing too much, maybe too much for your capacity, and you could really use like a energetic cleansing salt bath, salt shower during this full moon in Scorpio. Okay. You're also opposite of the 8th house, Taurus, so you may be really affected by this full moon. You are Scorpio's opposing sign, so it may hit you. You can look to your chart to see if you're a Taurus rising, how this is going to hit you. Taurus moons. Okay, Aries, last but not least, karmic relationships. Very interesting for Aries because this super full moon is happening in their 7th house of relationships. Again, depends on Placidus or whole house signs and your degrees, but karmic relationships, Orion energy, polarity, soul growth, and conflict. May dust up some conflict in our romantic relationships, it doesn't have to be romantic, in our serious relationships, main jams, main relationships. There may be some conflict. What karmic lessons are we meant to learn from these relationships? It's a reminder that some relationships are just here for soul growth, but sometimes we outgrow them. Maybe some ends to some relationships, some deaths to some relationships for some Aries, to make new for better ones. Maybe there will be a death of old patterns in relationships. It doesn't have to necessarily be the death of a relationship. It could be the death of an old way in a relationship. And I'm feeling like it's relationship themed because that's the energy I got when I first pulled it, and also because, again, for Aries rising, this full moon is happening in your 7th house of committed relationships, partnerships, contracts. So it could be contracts too. Yeah, and it's also Aries, you're always, Mars ruled, maybe always protecting yourself and having your guard up. So it could also be a call to how can you soften your heart, drop your defenses. What relationships are you finding challenging right now? And then also when you see this distance between two people, it's how can you see something from the other side, from the other perspective, from their perspective, because that's how we grow. And that's usually what karmic relationships are about. They're about learning to see things from another point of view. Yeah. Love this. Love this for us, Aries. So that was your reading for all 12 signs. I think I'll pull a card for the collective from the Power Animal Oracle. So we can see what is meant for all of us to maybe focus on, embody, call in. So card pull for the collective, for everybody, for this super full moon in Scorpio. Big potent energy. Love this. This is so Scorpio themed. Dear Pathfinder, trust your instincts to guide you through this situation. So really being called on going within, focusing on our intuition. How can we do that? And trust. Trust our instincts, trust ourselves. Great message. That was for the collective. I'm Ashley Marshall. That was a reading, oracle card reading for the super full moon in Scorpio for all 12 signs. I hope you enjoyed it. A couple of things, if you want a more in-depth reading, you can click the link that I'm going to put here in the comments section, and you can get your own personalized tarot reading that I'm doing for the super full moon in Scorpio. It's really fun and interesting and unique the way I'm doing it. I'm using the card that represents Scorpio, which is the Death card. Don't be scared. And I'm also using the Moon card in the reading. It will be a 4-card reading for you to show you the theme, any conflicts, any resolutions and manifestations of this super full moon in Scorpio. And if you're interested, if you want to go more in depth with the reading than what I did for you here, then you can click on that link in bio and purchase a reading. Remember, you can schedule for any time. We won't be meeting as a session. I will be giving you a voice recording of your reading and a photo of your spread. So that's a 4-card reading. I believe it's set at $22. And yeah, also if you feel called to, if you're really interested in astrology, I'll be doing a donation-based workshop this Thursday at 12 Pacific time. I'm going to be having that in lieu of my live journaling sessions that I typically do on Thursdays. And again, it'll be donation-based. It'll be at 12 o'clock Pacific time this Thursday. If you are interested, drop me a DM on my Instagram so you can get on my newsletter. That's to find out what's coming in May, but I'll also have the registration page up soon for the Trauma in the Birth Chart workshop, so that's coming soon. And thanks so much for watching. I would love to hear how this resonates for you. And yeah, happy super full moon in Scorpio. I'll see you next time.